Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1598B, and today's date is June 22nd, 2018, and the title of the episode is, It's All About to Change. The Time is Now. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, since this Inspector General report came out, we're starting to see a lot of things happen all at once. Q has been telling us that it is time right now and things are about to change. We see Special Agent Peter Strzok, well, he's been stripped of his security clearance. He was also physically escorted out of the FBI office, and this is coming from Attorney General Jeff Sessions. We also see that in the case of Michael Flynn, the FBI may have meddled with the evidence. Now, there are certain congressmen that are looking at this and saying, yeah, we might have a problem here. And we know with the 302s, the summary reports, they have been modified. And now U.S. Congressman Mark Meadows, he suggested that the FBI may have meddled with evidence in the case against Trump's former National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn. And we know from Q's posts that Flynn will be free in 30. And it looks like this might be coming true, where they show that there is no evidence or a case against Michael Flynn. And we see that Mueller's case against individuals, it's not going the way the deep state wants, because most of it is made up. It's propaganda, and it's all falling apart. We see Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley says he'll issue subpoenas for FBI Director James Comey and former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, but the panel's top Democrat, Dianne Feinstein, has to agree to it per committee rules. And he said, well, if she agrees, we will subpoena them. Now, the question is, will she sign off on this and agree to it? Well, she might be hesitant to sign on, as she says she thinks Comey acted in good faith, which means she thinks Congress shouldn't have a crack at questioning a key figure in the largest political scandal in modern history. And basically, I think that they should be subpoenaed with or without her. Because, again, if there's a problem here and things are not matching up, he should be brought in. Actually, Comey skipped out on a hearing before Grassley's committee this week following the June 14th release of the Department of Justice Inspector General's report. So he didn't even attend. And we could see that he didn't want to be a part of it because he knows he's caught. So when we look at this whole situation, we can see most of these individuals, they are in trouble and they're trying to figure out what they should do right now. Now, Loretta Lynch, on the other hand, was dinged in the IG report over an ambiguous, incomplete recusal from the Clinton email matter, even though she was on the tarmac for 30 minutes with Bill Clinton 1 week before the FBI exonerated Hillary Clinton. We also learned that there was really no investigation going on with the Clinton email scandal. So there's a lot going on right now, and also there's a lot that we don't know that was in the report but is not being shown to the public because, once again, Q says this is Rod Rosenstein's version. This is not the unredacted, unclassified report, and that is something that needs to come out so America can see. And I think Q said the time is now, and I think this is the time when all of this should start to come out here because there's no reason to wait anymore. Now, Facebook allowed a photo of a small girl that is crying, and also this appeared on Time magazine where it was Trump next to this crying little girl. It's the same little girl, and it says, "Welcome to America." And the post on Facebook was, "Reunite an immigrant parent with their child. Fundraiser for Racists by Charlotte Wilner and Dave Wilner." And it's called RAICES. And this is a charity that they started, which is Reunite an Immigrant Parent with Their Child. And basically, this photograph and the caption under it is kind of false because the child and the mother they were never separated and were in fact in U.S. custody at a family residential facility in Texas. Furthermore, it emerged that the mother had been previously deported in the U.S., and according to her husband in Honduras, she left him and 3 other children in early June without informing him, paying $6,000 to a coyote smuggler to take her northwards so she could seek better economic opportunities. Now, the photograph by John Moore of Getty Images, it's real, and Getty only claimed that the mother and daughter had faced possible separation. However, the story the media and activists had woven around the image is not accurate, because they weren't separated, but they were putting it out there that they were separated, and they were using this to fundraise, and they collected $17.7 million with a fake photo. I mean, this is just unbelievable. And we saw yesterday where there was a little child behind bars, but that was during a protest, and it was not a jail. It was just for a demonstration. But again, that was passed around, making everyone believe that was real also. We see that the Supreme Court ruled Friday that the law enforcement cannot track people movements for periods of weeks or months without a warrant. And this was in a 5-4 ruling. The court held that the acquisition of cell site records by government officials is covered under the Fourth Amendment. And of course it is. It's your privacy once again. It's like sending a letter through the post office. Now the post office handles it, they hold it, then they deliver it. The same thing with the carriers that hold your personal information. And basically, it's your private information. You're entrusting them to hold your private information, not to sell it, not to give it away. And the authorities, to see your private information, they need to obtain a warrant under the Fourth Amendment. And it's just amazing to me how everyone thinks that this is not how it should be, but it doesn't matter if it's electronic, it doesn't matter if it's on paper, it doesn't matter. It's your right to be private, and if the government wants to see anything and they believe there's a crime committed somehow, some way, they need to get a warrant. And it looks like the Supreme Court upheld this now. We see Macron and Merkel, they're in trouble. And these two leaders, they're facing an unexpected backlash from most other European governments against the German and French plans for a common Eurozone budget. And they were looking to place a tax, and most of the other countries are saying, yeah, we're not doing this whatsoever. And what this was all about is that they agreed that a new common pot of Eurozone money could be funded by a mixture of national contributions and a new EU levies, such as financial transaction tax. The Dutch Prime Minister said in the letter, adding that there was also no agreement to start exploring the use of financial transaction tax to finance it, wrote a letter. And the Dutch Finance Minister, on behalf of Belgium, Luxembourg, Austria, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Ireland, and Malta, they all said, no way. So, simple math, 2 verse 12. And it is safe to say that the rest of the Eurozone is not aligned with France and Germany. And it looks like Macron and Merkel, they are in big trouble here. I mean, they're going up against the European countries, and nobody is agreeing with them whatsoever. We see the North and South Korea, they are preparing to reunite families divided by war. And most of the population that was divided at a certain period of time, they're elderly now. And the elderly people, they are eager to reunite with their loved ones before, they pass on. And this is an incredible opportunity for families to come together once again. We see that Trump has announced that North Korea has returned the remains of around 200 U.S. soldiers killed during the Korean War. I believe they're saying there's still about 7,700 that weren't accounted for, and 200 were sent back to the U.S. Now, of course, the corporate media is out there saying there's no proof of this. There's no proof of denuclearization. There's nothing. We have no record of this whatsoever. It's not happening. War is still imminent. No, they're just pushing their agenda still. We see out in Syria, the Syrian army, they have launched their long-awaited Southwest Syria offensive, and they are pushing down further and further south. We see the U.S. is saying that their military advisors came under attack, and they've been attacked by unknown forces. Now, I think this was a false flag where certain individuals were there, and they attacked the base in Al-Tanf to make it look like the Syrian army was attacking, and this would then push the U.S. troops and the terrorist groups in the base and the moderate rebels to attack the Syrian army, and this would push us into war. And this incident just so happened when the Syrian army started to mount their offensive. Coincidence? I think not. We see the U.S.-backed rebels, they were behind the attack against the Syrian army. Now, I know out in the news, it was saying that the U.S. came out and they attacked the Syrian army. It was not the U.S., it wasn't the coalition forces. It was the U.S.-backed rebels, the terrorist groups, the paid mercenaries that attacked the Syrian army. Now, who controls these groups? Oh, that's right. It's the deep state once again, which is made up of the intelligence agencies, certain individuals like McCain and the rest. They pushed these individuals to attack the Syrian army, hoping that a war would break out once again. And it would be in the corporate media. The U.S. is attacking the Syrian army. The Syrian army then would go and fight against the U.S. forces. It didn't happen. They keep trying, but it is not working. We see the Free Syrian Army. Well, it looks like they are now defecting to the Syrian army. And this is coming from the Russian Reconciliation Center that has reported this, saying that the FSA is just giving up now and saying, okay, we will be part of Syria once again. We're no longer going to fight. We see right now the Russian military expert Vladimir Kuzin has said that there's 19 terrorist training camps in Syria. These are the bases that the deep state set up. These are the training center of their paid mercenary army within the country of Syria. Now, what is happening here is the deep state, they're trying to do whatever they possibly can to get a war started, and it's just not working. And they're having a very difficult time trying to push their agenda, and I think they are dead in the water at this point. We see Russia, since they and Syria, since they've moved into Duma and many of the other areas, they are now finding chemical weapon production equipment. And this is coming from Maria Zakharova, where she's saying that this equipment is professional. You had to be trained on it, and it was brought in from the Western countries. And this is what is happening right now. As the paid mercenary army of the deep state is beaten and they're being pushed out of these areas, yes, they tried to destroy as much as they possibly could of all their equipment and stuff, but a lot of it's being left behind. And now these new discoveries are showing that they were creating these chemical weapons. They see the shells, they see the equipment, they see everything they've been using, and this is what they have been doing all along. They would launch a chemical weapons attack, and they would blame it on Assad, and the U.S. would pick it up, the deep state, Nikki Haley or whoever would say, yes, it was Assad, chemical weapons were used, here's the pictures of, sick children, sick people, and they thought this would work, and they would be able to go into Syria and remove Assad. And they tried over and over and over, and every time it didn't work the way they thought. Now, something very interesting happened, and it reminds me of North Korea completely. President Assad commented on the possibility of talks with the United States at the present moment in his interview to a news station, saying that Washington's policy was unlikely to change in the nearest future, and thus establishing a dialogue would be a waste of time. Now, we heard something not exactly the same, but very similar with Kim Jong-un, where he said he was not going, in the beginning, he was not going to speak to the United States. There was no reason to speak to the United States, and that was the beginning stages of saying, yes, I am open to a conversation. Because what Assad is saying right now is that Washington's policies were unlikely to change. Well, he knows they've changed because he saw what happened with Kim Jong-un. where they didn't go in and have regime change. We didn't bring in forces. We didn't bomb the hell out of the country. There was a summit. There were peace talks. And if you look at North Korea, they haven't launched a missile. They haven't tested a nuclear device. They're destroying their nuclear weapons. They're returning the remains of soldiers that fought in the Korean War. And we see right now that the South and the North, they're coming together. They're reuniting families. So when we hear this from Assad, this is the beginning stages, letting Trump know, and this is all part of the plan, that talks are ready. If Washington can change their policy, and you know Washington can now. So what we're seeing right now is the plan to basically get the troops out of Syria, because I think what is going to happen here, and I think after the summit with Putin, I think this is when we're going to see a lot of things change. I think this is where we're going to see peace talks once again, just like Trump meeting with Xi Jinping, having conversations with Putin on the phone. Things change rapidly with North Korea. I think the same thing is going to happen in Syria right now, where Trump and Putin are going to meet. They're going to meet, I think, this July. That's when it's being planned for. And I think right after that, we're going to see many things change in Syria, and I believe we're going to see a meeting with Assad and Trump. And they're going to be talking about everything about Syria and removing the troops. And they're going to come to an agreement. And we're going to see this happen and unfold right in front of our eyes, because things are changing right now. It is time. And the deep state is beaten at this point. There's nothing left for them in Syria. So we've already seen Iran mulling the idea of withdrawing troops. We know that Putin put that message out there. And if you look, each time they put a little message out there to get everyone used to the idea, to get everyone thinking about it, to get everyone moving in a certain direction. And we see right now with Assad coming out saying this, and I've never heard him say this in the past. Maybe he mentioned it, but you can see this is a definite signal. Just like we had in North Korea, this is the beginning stages. And I believe right after the summit, we're going to see things change quite a bit. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.